Affectionately known at home as Mukanya and to the rest of the world as the Lion of Zimbabwe, Thomas Mapfumo has been a witness and participant to the history in his native country, Zimbabwe, from the bloody years of the country's liberation war in the 1970s right through the present economic and political crisis and cries. Thomas Mapfumo has used his revolutionary, spiritually charged music to decry injustice and highlight the historical and cultural issues that underline the news headlines. Mapfumo is a musical visionary, fearless social critic, and certainly one of the greatest African band leaders of the past century. This is exactly how the Chimurenga guru is described in a book, Lion Songs by ethnomusicologist Burning Eye of the Afropop worldwide. Dr. Mapfumo, welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to start off with the book. I mean, this book has been almost 25 years, in the making. Burning Eye has also openly admitted that he's a friend of yours and also a fan of yours. How was it after, during the preparation of this book? Have you managed to get your hands to it?
Yes, I have. He actually sent me a copy. I have a copy.
Okay, so now this book actually reveals some very intimate moments that almost most of your musical fans do not know about you. I am from Zimbabwe, and personally, I didn't know that Mapfumo was not your father's name, but your stepfather's name. So in the book, this truth comes out that you were obviously raised by Mr. Mapfumo after your father had not been able to pay lobola for your mother. So when was that decision like to pick up that name and keep it? Because now that's the trending name besides Mukanya or, the Lion of Zimbabwe.
Yeah, the fact is that I was brought up by my grandparents.
Right.
And actually, I never saw my father when I was a kid until when I was a grown-up man. I went out there looking for him. But the very first time I met him. But, my mother actually, she was responsible for looking after me, making sure everything was right with me. She did send me to school. She did everything for me. And I thank her very much because that's how I grew. But I grew up with my grandparents back in the country. Life there in the country was all about working.
Right.
Was a head boy heading cattle and goats. We usually went out there to plow, to work in the fields.
Mm-hmm.
My grandfather was a hard worker. And, I spent almost about 7 years in the country with my grandparents. And they were also very much into traditional music.
Right.
That's how I became a musician, because I started loving music when I was a kid, when I was listening to these traditional tunes. And I was very much involved with the type of music.
Okay, so I know that at one point, obviously, you took your musical career somewhere where you were imitating the Beatles, for instance, and all those other pop Western music. And then later on, you decided to go back to your roots because you grew up with the mbira instrument in your house, and your mother was actually a traditional musical singer. And when you started to fuse the mbira music with electric guitar, I also read in the book that at one point, I think this was Jonas Stolle, I'm sure one of your guitarists, who then imitated the sound of the mbira with the guitar.
I mean, this came about when I left the country.
Mm-hmm.
I was now living with my own parents in the city.
Right.
And that was the first time that I started listening to radio music. I was listening to a lot of bigger names, like Frank Sinatra,
Right.
Everly Brothers, Elvis Presley, and all those other musicians. Cecilia Makeba,
Right.
especially there was a lot of music from South Africa too. So I was listening to that all that. I thought music was really very, very, very good. But then I felt, well, I wanted to be a musician.
Right. So,
Surely that was my ambition. I wanted to be a
so
musician.
fast forward, sometime in the 70s, obviously during the height of the Chimurenga War, your music took a form of its own in the sense that you became a revolutionary through your music. I mean, there are songs like Gwindingwirine, Chimurenga, and that's where that name originated, because for some reason the Rhodesian forces did not like the message of your music, and you were put through so many threats, trying to banish your music. But then at the same time, this was the voice that you used to communicate with the masses. How did that come about for you as an artist turning into a revolutionary like that?
Yes, I realized, after after following, a lot of other people's music, I started thinking, and I was growing up. I started thinking about myself, my own identity, and I just, started having a different mind. I said, I'm not supposed to be any of these bigger names like Elvis Presley, John Lennon, and the rest of the other world artists.
Right.
I'm supposed to be Thomas Mapfumo. Right. So, to be Thomas Mapfumo, what am I supposed to do? And I started looking for my own identity. And I remembered very well, and I started thinking, well, I grew up in the country, and there was a lot of music. And I used to participate in that type of music myself too. So I just thought if I could take the music that was cultural music, actually, change the music, make it appeal to the young generation. The music, I found the music was also just as good as the other music that I actually had been following.
Right.
When I did that, I found that, I was actually doing the right thing for my own people, because though I didn't realize music was culture, but
So this is the trend that has been with your music, and of late you've been accused by the Zimbabwean government of singing songs against them, and as a result, as we speak, you are in some kind of exile in Oregon, in the United States for the last is it 10 years now? You have maintained, you are one of those musicians who have remained consistent on your policies about what's going on around you politically and socially, and this music has obviously led to you to where you are. What can you say as a musician in a foreign country but still has a passion and love for your own country and what's going on in Zimbabwe? What can you say?
Yeah, what I have to tell you is that my music played a very important role during the liberation struggle. And I was supporting the struggle, hoping, that everyone was going to be free in Zimbabwe. It wasn't just freedom for the black people, but freedom for every Zimbabwean.
Right.
Even the white people who grew up there. This was my idea. But, well, look at what is happening today. I cannot be seen supporting, the wrong, the wrong cause. I have to be with the people who put me where I am today, the poor people.
Right.
And then that's where I belong. And I don't care whether you are white or blue or black. If you don't do the right thing for the people, I'll actually, I'll be very much opposed to everything that you do. So that's the situation that we have in back home today. Yesterday, I supported them because we were trying to, free everybody, to free Zimbabweans,
Right.
and to make sure that everyone in Zimbabwe was going to be free. But today, that's not the case with the Zimbabweans. There's the people, they don't have the power. The power belongs to those few who are controlling who are in top positions. That's not supposed to be.
Right.
Power must be with the people. Give the people the power, and that's what they fought for. And today, it seems we fought against racism yesterday, and today we are a racist country. I don't know what that means.
This is racism against the white farmers that have been kicked out from the farms?
That's very true. I don't want to be seen, siding with racists. I'm not a racist myself.
Right. So now, in what's going on politically, the president is 91 years old. He's been in power for the last 35 years. And they seem like no hope because amongst themselves in the ruling party, ZANU-PF, they are no longer friendly with each other. There's no more harmony. There's disunity. What do you expect of Zimbabwe's future? Do you think there might be a civil war? Because already there's serious squabbles going on in there. And there's been a history of people disappearing and people dying as a result of this political violence against each other just because they opposed someone's ideas. What do you think Zimbabwe is heading to at this point?
They need, the Zimbabweans need to be united. They need a strong opposition party. Somebody who is going to stand there for the people and say, if it means dying, I'll die first. That's what Mandela did. You understand? That's what a good leader does.
But people will say there's been Morgan Tsvangirai. Do you think that he made a mistake by uniting with the ZANU-PF at some point?
He did made a terrible mistake because people were looking after him. They were thinking he was going to save them from what is happening today. But look what happened.
Right. So you feel like he shook hands with the enemy?
That's very true.
Okay, now you've also been outspoken about people like fellow musicians who shy away from criticizing the government through their work. What can you say about that at this current moment?
Because most of them never saw the liberation war. They were never into that war. And they never experienced what we experienced during the Rhodesian, when the country was still Rhodesia. And they think Comrade Mugabe, as they call him, is untouchable. That's not to be. Most of them are brainwashed, and they must, actually do away with that. They have to think again. They have to be united. What is needed today is to do away with the rest of the ZANU-PF, government. Whoever was who is involved with this government, must be, done away with.
Right. Okay, so they shouldn't be trusted. Now, moving forward, we also have been reading news about vendors, because Zimbabwe is now a country of vendors. People are trying to eke out a living, and I hear that they're selling anything everywhere, any place. And recently, Zimbabwe the government was trying to embark on a cleanup, and these vendors are not budging because that's their lifeline. What do you think about what is going on in that scenario?
Because there's no rule of law. Everyone is corrupt, you understand?
Mm-hmm.
So when everyone is corrupt, including the leadership, there's no rule of law, there's nothing, we're not moving in the right direction. And letting those people, turning those people into vendors, you are turning the country into, I don't know, Manvemve.
Mamvemve.
Yes, yeah.
Right, torn to pieces.
Yes, yes.
Right. Anyway, so in closing, Dr. Mapfumo, we'd just like to find out if there's any new album in the works. I know you just released one, and I hear that it was already being bootlegged in Zimbabwe, and you came out swinging to say that, you are willing to give out free copies if that's the case. How is your music being received from exile?
Well, here, I'll tell you, my music is being received very well internationally.
Mm-hmm.
But back home, the music industry has been destroyed. It's a sad situation for the upcoming musicians, because they are not going to enjoy, the fruits of their music like what we used to do when the country was still right.
Okay. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. That was obviously Dr. Thomas Mapfumo Mukanya, or the Lion of Zimbabwe, as he's popularly known by his legions of fans across the world. He's talking to us via Skype from his home in Oregon. This is Fungai Maboreke, SaharaTV. Stay tuned. We have more programming.